What's going on, everybody? I'm glad that you guys decided to join us today. I hope you guys are fired up. How many of you guys are feeling what's going on in our marketplace?
Definitely.
Yes.
Feeling it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's changing a little bit, and that should be embraced. Just so everybody knows, you know, some agents get fearful during these times because it's not as easy as it was before. For the good agents, the agents who are willing to work, like this should bring a smile to your face, you know, because a lot of people who don't belong in the business are not going to be in the business anymore. And the ones who can go back to the basics, right? Because let's be honest, the market has made us complacent over the past, I would say, what, 5 years, 4 years, guys? What would you say? Right. And for those of you guys who haven't been in the business long enough, you know, for the past 4 years, it used to be a little bit, you used to have to work in the real estate business, believe it or not, in order to make a living. And so we're getting back to that. We're getting back to the basics. And I wanted to point out something that I pointed out this morning on the Breakfast Club that I think is really important when we talk about getting back to the basics. It means getting back to your prospecting, getting back to your tracking sheets, getting back to your schedule, getting back to that organizations, and getting back to your priorities, right? For most of you guys who are looking to level up your business, what is the number one priority in your business right now? Can anybody tell me what that number one priority is?
Making the phone calls.
Appointments.
Generating business, right? Production. If you're not talking to people about your business, you don't have a business, right? And so we've got to monitor that. And I don't know if you guys saw my video this morning, but I talked about somebody's got to make the donuts, right? And if you're not willing to make the donuts, then you can't complain that you're not selling donuts, if that makes sense. I talked to Amanda Weller. Amanda, was it last week? And we made that commitment, and we said that we were going to start doing things the right way, doing the basics and going all in, because you were prospecting, but kind of, sort of, right? Exactly. Doing that thing that we all as real estate agents do, which is I'm going to do just enough so that I can say that I'm prospecting without actually having to prospect. And how many of you guys have been there before? Where you do some prospecting and then you're like, yep, I did my prospecting, and realistically you made 5 phone calls, right? And we want to make sure that we're not lying to ourselves and that we're setting ourselves up to understand our numbers so that come October, guys, we can actually make a plan of action that works. And how do you make a plan of action? By knowing your data, by knowing how many calls you have to make in order to get a contact, right? How many contacts you need to make in order to get a listing appointment, how many listings you need to take in order to secure yourself a sale. Okay. Now, the power of that going into next year is you're going to be able to predict exactly what it's going to take to hit that goal that you want. You're going to be able to measure it. It's not going to be aimless. Okay. And I want to show you guys what that looks like. Michelle, if you could pull that up really quickly. I was just really impressed with this that I got last night. Amanda's smiling because she knows I'm talking about her. Michelle, can you pull this up?
Sure can. All right, can you guys see my screen?
Almost. It's spinning. Yep. It is so small. Can you guys see that okay, or is it just me?
Well, this is
you.
Okay. So I love this. I love this because this is called doing what it takes. Okay. If you notice, Amanda Weller spent 4.5 hours on the phones, right? She got 29 contacts in those 4.5 hours. She set 1 appointment on the listing side, 1 appointment on the buyer side. And that, my friends, is a successful day in real estate. We talk about 1 appointment a day, right? That's 5 appointments a week. That's 20 appointments a month. That's 100. That's 240 appointments a year. Cut that in half at a 50% conversion rate. That's how many? 120, right? Your average commission times 120, that's $1 million in real estate, right? And Amanda's investing the time to make those kind of numbers happen, you know? And that's what it takes sometimes. Sometimes it's not your 2-hour prospecting session. Sometimes you have to extend yourself a little bit to those 4 or 5 hours to get something out of it. Okay. More importantly, now Amanda knows how many calls she's got to make in order to get an appointment, right? She knows how many contacts she needs to make in order to get an appointment. Not really, because she's got to do this over the span of the next couple of weeks to get a good read on that. And that's going to help her with that business plan come October. All right. Makes sense, everybody? Are you guys impressed by that tracking sheet?
That's so awesome.
I love it because it's the basics, but it's not half-assed either. She didn't half-ass that tracking sheet. She executed on that. And you talk to these badass agents who are awesome at prospecting, who are awesome at growing their business, like the Randy Shackley, who's on these phones. Randy knows her numbers. Randy knows exactly what she's got to do every single day. And all of these top tier agents that you think might be above these basics, they're actually really good at the basics. And that's why they're at the top of the heap, because they are awesome at doing the basics. Randy, would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Like saying.
Love it. Love it. So that's all I wanted to say about that, guys. We're going to be doing a business plan workshop that we're going to announce here pretty soon. We got the co-founders merchandise up on the co-founders group website. So if you want to grab yourself a badass Breakfast Club hoodie, hat, co-founders group stuff, you could actually put your own logos on that too. Feel free to jump in there and swag yourself out about a lot, because it looks great. I brought MK Bruce to talk to us about something really important today. Mainly, I know that you guys are getting objections from your sellers that they're going to wait until the market gets better, that they're going to wait until spring, all of that good stuff. And the same thing is true on the buyer's end, right? You're getting a lot of these objections. I'm going to wait. Rates are too high. I'm going to wait for them to come down. Again, we've been hypnotized for the longest time, thinking that the market has always been this way and it will always be this way. And that's not the truth. Right. So I brought MK in because he's dealing with this on an everyday basis. Like if I asked MK, how many times a day do you think you and your team get, I'm going to wait until the rates get better. I'm going to wait until the market gets better.
I think I stopped making those little check marks on my desk.
Right.
But
yeah,
I agree with you. I think one of the best things of the market, I think, so we were blessed with this awesome market with inflated prices, right? We had, lower interest rates than we've ever seen before, lower than I've ever seen in the market before as well. So we were blessed to be able to just throw an offer out or list a house, and we know we're going to get 10 offers. Raise your hand if that's how it was the past couple of years for you, right? You list that house and people are beating your door down, and really you're just looking for the highest and best. But one thing that we can appreciate now is we're getting back to the point where we're putting in offers and we're asking for closing costs. We're structuring and getting creative again. We're trying to figure out ways that we can make the most successful or sexy offer to present. Raise your hand if you've been trying to do that too. And I think right now how we're doing this is we have to figure out what's going on in the market. So I'm going to give you guys clip notes just real quick on what's happening if you haven't had a heartbeat on it. So the primary focus on why and what's driving these interest rates is inflation. Okay, so there's two really types of inflation. We have, our wage inflation. We also have just the standard consumer inflation on the price of goods, right? So when I'm talking about wages, I don't know if anybody else has any other businesses that they run. My wife and I, we own a couple other businesses, and we have hourly employees, right? So an hourly employee, it used to be you can get somebody, $13, $14, $15 an hour. But with COVID, COVID forced everybody, we call it the zombie apocalypse, where everybody's at home. They didn't know when we were going to go back to work. Nobody knew, right? So we have our stimulus money, we have unemployment money, we have all these things that are supporting people staying where? Staying home, right? So to get people back in the workforce, we had to increase wages to tempt them to not be on unemployment, to not be at home. So we have this huge inflation of wages, okay? So that being said, for me personally, I had a mobile detailing company, right? I used to pay somebody $14 an hour. They would detail cars. Now people want $25 an hour. So what happens? The cost of those services go up as well. I don't know if anybody tried to buy a house. What was it like trying to buy a lumber package? Anybody remember that? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the lumber package or the cost of that lumber to get that same package is about 73% lower now than it was during that COVID, right? That COVID era. So we're seeing all these things. So what the feds are trying to do is trying to suppress the values to slow the market down, right? So if you think about that, one other thing to think about was if I had a buyer right now, Jason had a buyer. He's going to take his buyer out. They qualified in a normal market at $300,000, but at a 3% interest rate, now they're qualifying for maybe a $350,000, $400,000, sometimes even $500,000 home, when really they normally qualify for $300,000, right? So now they're in these huge equity positions that they wouldn't have normally had before, right? So the world is changing in that aspect of things. You put into another mix. We have, Ukraine, what's going on over there, right? So we get a lot of grain from Ukraine. So all of our animals, beef, all these things that we have are fed from the grain. So now we can't get the grain from Ukraine. Now we have to use our grain. So the cost of grain goes up, right? So there's all these different factors that are coming in. So I'm just giving you the cliff notes to think about that kind of thing right now. So stimulus, what that does, obviously, it's boosting the interest rates so that we can slow the housing market down. Now, what does that mean? Why is that good for us, right? Now, if you're a buyer's agent, right, who's been struggling to get somebody under contract, this is the time to buy. And my team specifically, when we're sitting here, we're thinking of 2 months down the road. So we saw the writing on the wall, 7 months ago when these rates started going up. We can't sit here and just be thinking of refinance and just having, 3% interest rates on people buying. How do we get ahead of the market, right? So what we're doing is we're going through our database and we're looking for things. If you have if you are a seller's agent and all you do is sell homes and you have a database of people, any home that you listed or sold, or even buyer's agent, I would call those buyers and tell them to open up a HELOC right now. Okay. I'm going to tell you why. Does anybody know why they should have an open HELOC right now? Anybody on the call?
I do.
Talk to me.
Not to lose their equity.
They need to protect that equity, right? So right now, if the feds are pushing values down, think about this. For the past years in Washington, we've been growing anywhere from 8 to 15% in some areas. In each year, you're growing that equity. That's massive. That's not happening in the other parts of the country. So we have an opportunity to take that, open up a HELOC. You don't have to use it, but open up the HELOC where you might have 200,000 just sitting there waiting for an emergency. Because what's going to happen is the feds are pushing down these values where they want blood in the streets to slow down the economy. They want to force a higher unemployment rate, right?
What you're saying, MK, is you want those clients to go out and get the appraisal while the values are their highest. So they've got the highest amount of room on their HELOC, right? If we wait until the prices go down 10% officially, then we know that the HELOC appraisals are going to go down another 10% and they're going to lose 20% of their buying power in the onwards market.
Is everybody tracking that? So essentially the housing price, so they're trying to push the values down right now, okay? Trying to push the values down. Now, get an appraisal. So you're calling through, and the reason why I'm saying this is this is a warm call. You're just talking to them right now. Hey, listen, you don't have to use that HELOC right now, but I'm strongly suggesting that you open up a home equity line of credit. Do not use it, right? So you're not using your equity. You just have it available for a rainy day. Now, what happens as prices come down, you can negotiate. What happens when they want to place over in Ocean Shores, they want to place over in Crescent Bar or Chelan, right? And somebody just needs to sell their property because they're down and out. Not that say that's unfortunate, but they're down and out. They can buy something for lower than they normally would, no bidding war, and you can ask for closing costs and even an interest rate buy down on it. This is a perfect scenario for somebody to either buy a second home, investment home, or even a move up right now. So they might ask you and say, hey, listen, but the interest rates are high right now. Yes, they are high, but they're higher than normal. But if you look at CNBC and you look at the market, they're predicting that these rates are going to come back down right around 4% by this time next year. Okay. So you've all been talking to buyers right now. We've been talking to buyers about buying right now, buying the sell price, not the interest rate, right? Because we know that property values are going to go back up. You buy right now. You have a little bit higher interest rate, you refinance next year, and you're not buying at that higher amount with that lower interest rate. You're buying, you're setting that price right now. You might have the higher interest rate for about a year and then you refinance, okay? Is everybody tracking that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when people are scared and they're talking to me about a higher interest rate, yes, absolutely. It is higher than it's been in the past few years, right? It is higher, but you're buying the price right now. When's the last time, guys? When's the last time you were in the past couple of years? Was anybody getting any seller concessions at all? Maybe on an off chance, maybe a property that had some issues with it, maybe, right? But now we're getting back to the point where I had a home in Seattle that one of my clients put an offer on. It went for $700,000 over asking price, okay? And it appraised, right? That's not happening in this market. So all those buyers that were on the sideline before, those are the buyers too right now that can buy and they don't have to get pushed out of the market, right? By getting outbid. Tracking that? Okay. So we have to make sure that we're calling our database and we find warm ways to talk to them. Because, we can go through Ford, we can just call through and just, randomly go about calling our clients, but we have to give something, right? And Randy, I think you do a great job of this too, but you know, I'm giving a carrot on something. So I'm either talking about the market or I'm going over, you know, advantages of a HELOC. Like, are you looking for, you know, buying an investment property? Right now, can you buy a duplex? You know, they're building some brand new duplexes over in Royal City and Moses Lake right now. That's a market that could be really cool that people don't know about, right? How can you have those conversations where at least just put something in their mind about talking to their spouse about? Okay.
The emphasis here, MK, if you don't mind me interjecting, is number one, this is the perfect time for you guys to reach out to your database, your sphere of influence, and your past clients. You know, I've been telling everybody who will listen to me about this, it's the perfect time. And a lot of you guys struggle with the, I don't want to reach out to my database part, which is, if you're in real estate, that's crazy. And it's typically because, well, the feedback that I get from people when they have problems reaching out to their databases, I feel like I don't want to sell them shit. You know what I mean? I feel like I don't want to be that salesperson. These times in markets like this are the exact time where these people need you. You know what I mean? And you've got something to talk about. The market's shaky. People are uncertain. People have reservations. People don't know what's going on, really, right? And here's the thing that you have to understand. You're the professional, not them. And if you've decided that you want to keep long-term clients and you want to be their real estate agent, well, now's the time that they need you most. Out of those 29 contacts that Amanda got yesterday, Amanda, you got those appointments all from your sphere, right?
Correct. They're all people I know.
And you guys know me. I am a prospecting, like, let's go after FSBOs, let's go after expireds, let's go after immediate need. Now, with the shift in the market, there's also a shift in, like, you got to reach out to these people now. And what MK said was really important. And sorry, I interrupted just for this, MK. He put the emphasis on having a reason to actually call, having pre-prepared questions to ask and value that you can bring to the table, right? Starting your calls out with, have you been paying attention what's been going on in the market, right? MK is telling him about investment properties, right? Why it's a good time to buy. Are you looking to up your family's wealth, right? They have that saying in the stock market, buy at the dip, right? And that same thing is true in real estate when you're talking about investments and things like that. There's a whole plethora of reasons why people should be making certain moves right now. And those, you're not pressuring them into buying shit. You're not pressuring them into selling their house. You're not pressuring them into anything, but knowing their financial situation, knowing what their goals are and their life goals, you got to understand that first, right? Then you can provide them options. And those options are going to come from you because they don't know their options. Why? Because you got your real estate license. You say that you're a professional. It's up to you to bring these to the table. Sorry, MK, I just wanted to interject real quick and say that.
So good. One of the best things I ever heard about prospecting was, if you're not calling your clients, somebody else is.
Yeah.
And it really took a lot of pressure off me because I would just call them and talk to them about, you know, the market and everything. And they're getting they want the information. They want to know about their value. They want to know about their equity. They want to know about their options, right? And if you're not giving it to them, they got to go find it somewhere else. But why wouldn't it be you? Right?
It's the equity that you're talking about, MK. I'm sorry, I keep interjecting, but that money the money that he's talking about, the equity, for most people, that's the money that they have in the bank, right? And they're watching it dissipate right now. Imagine the kind of anxiety that causes if you were to just check your bank account and it wasn't your spending habits that was doing it, was something that you couldn't control that kept taking money out of your bank account every single month, right? Imagine the anxiety and the uncertainty and what can I do? What are my options, right? That's what they're going through right now. So when MK starts talking about their equity, that's really their bank account, the money that they've got for their retirement, their goals and their dreams and all that good stuff, MK?
Well, one thing to think about too, guys, you know, a lot of people, when they go to get a HELOC, it's too late. You know, let's just say they really need it, right? Something that's going on in their house. Their credit cards are maxed out, which means their credit score goes down, right? Their DTI is high. And then all of a sudden they're check to check. They don't have any savings. And if they miss a mortgage payment, it's such a devastating blow to your credit. So to have a HELOC open for a rainy day, right? Maybe write it out for this next year to have a HELOC open. Some people are just like, oh, well, it's my retirement. Yes, it is your retirement, but remember, you're still gaining equity. So your retirement's not going away. But what happens if you lose your house, or what happens if you can't pay your mortgage payment, right? It's more devastating to you. So I don't want doom and gloom. I just want to let you know that there's so many different options. I don't personally do HELOCs. I have a referral partner that does them, but it's a conversation piece. So it doesn't benefit me, obviously, unless they wanted to buy something else, but I'm bringing value to my clients. Does that make sense to you guys? And just bringing value to them. So even if they don't open it, you're just like educating them on the market. Okay. There's one thing I want everybody to do. I want you to write this down. If you take one thing for me, please take this down. So the best thing I ever did in my business is I went through my phone book. I just took out my cell phone and I spent one day and I wrote down anybody that I that just love, just somebody that just loves me. I love them. I know if I can call them anytime and, we can just shoot the shit. It's just a great conversation. Cooley, for sure. I don't have a calling card to call Thailand, so I got to hit him on Facebook, but but I wrote down a list, right? And I tried to call up my top 100. I didn't get to 100, obviously. Some people might only get to 5, but whatever your list is, your goal is to get a top 20. Okay. I want you to get a top 20 list. Okay. And I called them twice a month. So however you split it up, every other week, whatever you do, it might be someone you call every week anyways, but no matter what, I called them twice a month, and I had some part of the conversation that just let them know what I did, right? And these people were my warriors, okay? So in 5 years, I became top 50 in the country in my company, which was amazing. I did $100 million worth of loans last year, and it wasn't just because I'm the greatest prospect in the world. It's just I had a system about it, right? And anybody that if somebody that I knew bought a house and it wasn't for me, it was my fault. I took that on the chin. It was my fault because I didn't do a good enough job to let them know what I did. Okay. And I want you guys to have that same mentality. You have that list, you call them, twice a month and just say, for instance, Jonathan, hey, Jonathan, this is MK. I just want to call, reach out, see how you're doing. You're shooting the shit and everything. Hey, by the way, I just want to make sure you knew I do mortgages. I know you already know that, but right now in the market, we got a couple cool loan programs. But if you know anybody that's looking to buy or refinance right now, please just, pass my information along. And the thing is, those people on that list, they want to do that for you. If they even hear the word real estate, they're right away, oh, you got to talk to MK. Got to talk to him right now. He's the only guy you can talk to. That referral right there is the best referral. That closes almost every single time because somebody that they know, like, and trust that you have to use this person. You have to use them, right? So they're like, oh, well, if you trust him, I trust him, right? It's the best possible referral. So, we can't step over a penny to pick up a dollar, or step over a dollar to pick up a penny, whatever you say. We can't do that. We have to make sure that we're prospecting in our own backyard first. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's all I have, guys. I'm
Can
excited
I
about this
piggyback
one.
on there? One
Yeah,
more thing.
Sure.
So that was a really awesome point to go to your sellers and tell them to get the HELOC like right now today. Well, their financial position is good, but also, guys, we know that the appraisers are looking at the last 180 days of comps,
Yes.
right? So if we think we're in a market slide, it's really important to grab the appraisal when your last 180 days of comps are as high as they can. At the same time, when you're sitting on the listing agent side, right? And you're getting lowballed, you're getting these offers that are $50,000, $35,000 below list price. You need to have a conversation and take control of that conversation and say, hey, MK or Chad, you wrote me this offer on this property or $50,000 low. You didn't support it on price. What's happening there? Tell me about the interest rates. Chad, tell me that you wrote me this low offer because the interest rates are garbage.
Because the interest rates aren't good right now.
Yeah.
They're
Okay.
high.
And are you looking at the same sources that I am, Chad, about how long the interest rates are expected to be where they are?
Probably. I don't know. What
My
sources are you
sources
looking
are
at?
saying like the next 12 to 18 months. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So what if we did this? Why don't we buy down the difference in payment for your clients? It's about $500 over the next 18 months. That's $6,000. We'll give you guys a $6,000 credit towards your closing costs, but we can lift that price up from the 50,000 that you lowballed me at.
It's fucking awesome.
Randy, can you say that again?
Right?
Can you just talk about that concept again?
Okay, so
brilliant.
Can you break it down and explain it to me like a
Okay,
3-year-old? Because
now that
you're
you've got
fucking
it.
awesome.
Okay,
Go
so
ahead.
so I've got a $650,000 listing, right? Chad just wrote me an offer at 600. So I'm calling Chad and I'm saying, hey, Chad, thank you so much for the offer. Hey, I'm on the market 600. So we've got a little bit of a gap here. I didn't see any supporting documents from you guys about justifying price. So can I ask you where you're coming from?
Well, I mean, interest rates have risen. Market's different,
Yeah, so it's a payment pain point for your clients, it sounds like, with the new rate.
They can't really afford that payment.
Yeah, I completely appreciate that. Hey, I'm pretty dialed in with some great resources that are speculating how long we expect to be in this market with these higher rates. And I'm just wondering, are you paying it, or what are your loan officers saying about how long we're going to be in this market?
At least the next 12 months, 24
Yeah, 12
months.
to 18 months. So the
Yeah.
difference in payment, it looks like between 600 and 650 for your clients at the new rate is about $500 a month. So why don't we do this? Instead of coming in at 600, why don't I give you the credit for the $500 difference in payment for the next 12 to 18 months so that your clients have the comfort of that lower payment, but my clients can get a price that is reflected by the market value.
Do you guys remember how I've been talking about, like, it's your job now more than ever to actually put deals together,
100%.
right? And so, like, what Randy's saying is one of the reasons why she's such a badass is because it's not about just selling somebody's home, right? Like, that was easy a couple of months ago, right? I'm sure
So
Randy did this even at peak market, but it's the ability to put deals together, make things make sense for people financially. We say that every single morning on the Breakfast Club, right? Make things make sense for somebody financially. That's the antithesis of what I'm talking about there. So
And
go ahead,
when I
Randy.
when I go into a listing appointment next time, right? And I've got John and Susie and they're like, oh, Randy, I don't know if it's a good time to list my house. You know, I see all these price reductions, like it's really nerve wracking. I can confidently stand and say, hey, let me tell you a story about what I did for my last clients when the offer came in $50,000 low.
Absolutely.
We did this instead. So now you know that I have a strategy in place to protect your equity. You think I'm going to get that listing, guys?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now too, in just like the listing side, I had a listing agent call me and say, hey, I have this buyer here. They keep him in a hon and they don't want to buy this house for $750. They want to offer me $680. And they didn't have 20% down. This is a big thing. They called me. And I said, well, why don't we do a temporary buy down like Randy's talking about? So what we did was instead of discounting the house, $70,000 or $50,000, whatever we needed to do. We talked about a temporary buy down, ended up being about $14,000 and got them to the payment that they wanted. And it saved the listing agents, seller, all that cash as well. So same thing, we just got to get creative for sure.
So that I did say another trick too, is like, if your team's not assembled, right, the loan officer on the other side is weak or whatever, come from a position of service and offer your loan officer, get that buyer connected with MK who can educate so that, again, you can broker the deal from, like, if you have a green agent or a slow agent or a non-cooperative agent, go around them, go to the loan officer because you already have the pre-approval. So what I heard from this meeting is what MK gave us was great knowledge, and knowledge is definitely power. I think he then advised us, this is what I heard from him anyway, to go and have high quality conversations with our network. And then Chad kind of drew a line under that and said, go call your database with the good news story. And so then MK said, and pick your 20 people that are the highest quality people that you can have those high quality conversations with. I would go one level further, guys. You grab this knowledge today, you feel confident about having it with your database, have those individual conversations. But if you feel comfortable videoing it and putting it out on social media, then again, you've established to your network with a soft touch, right, that you're the expert and you can allow them to put their hands up and contact you.
And BombBomb as well. If you guys aren't leveraging BombBomb, I would tell you right now, do it. BombBomb is crushing it right now. Send it to your database.
If you guys are having problems putting together deals and you have situations like this, MK is awesome. And your partners matter now more than ever as well, right? Because they're the ones who are going to help you get creative and get through shit, right? They're the ones that you can partner up with lead generation and different things. We're working on some things with MK right now, but your partners in real estate matter, from your title company to your lenders. All of these people matter, and all of these people can be resources if you get resourceful. Identify who you're working with now. Are they helping you in any way, shape, or form? Do you trust them to get creative, like some of the things that you're hearing from MK and Randy today? Like, when was the last time your lender actually came to you with some solutions for a problem that you were having there, right? So don't just take things for face value. Your job is to get shit done. And that's kind of what Randy was saying there too. You've got to get shit done. You got to do more than just sell somebody's home. You have to put deals together and make things make sense for people, or help them make sense for people. They don't know their options. And if you don't present their options, then they don't know their options, and they're just saying no to you when there are other options. And if you don't know what their options are, then it's time to spend a little bit more time understanding exactly what your resources are, coming to these meetings, taking notes, and focusing on the implementation, right? All these things that Randy brought up, like, think about them. You wrote them down, right? If you don't understand them, right, then seek help. Come to us. We'll help you out with that, but actually take some time to understand exactly how that works and how you could do that. Call your lender. How does this work? How do I do this? So that way you're armed when that scenario comes up. And trust me when I tell you, that scenario is going to come up more and more often, right?
We got an opportunity right now, guys. I'm telling you right now, I want you to be so excited. There's an opportunity to take market share right now. If there's ever been time, it's right now. There's people that are like, oh, this is too hard, I'm going to quit. Right now is where you double down on yourself, believe in yourself, and go after it. I swear to God right now, this is going to be difference maker. You're going to crush right now. You double down on the prospecting. Then when these rates turn in about 6 to 12 months, when that happens, you guys are going to have just a whole database full of clients ready to drop. It's going to be insane.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions for MK?
Yeah. Anything.
Yeah, I got
Hey,
one.
hey,
So I have
there
a
we go.
client that's moving to Utah. So you can still do the financing for him, right?
Yeah. My team can. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, John.
Yep.
And I have a question for you, MK. I know you said you expect the rates to be back down around the 4% level. Now, are you just agreeing with, the person you're talking to, or do you really expect that rates are going back down to those ridiculously low levels?
They have to. I believe it in my heart that they're going to go back in the fours. So, will it be 3.875? Probably not. Probably about 4.25, maybe even 4.5. But that's a great interest rate where a lot of people can still get in and buy. So, I firmly believe that they'll be back. I think
MK, really quickly, because I know that you and your team are dealing with these objections. First-time home buyer, rate sensitive, right? Doesn't want to buy anything right now, wants to wait until rates come down. How do you handle that?
That's a great question. I think the hardest part right now is down payment assistance is probably a 7.625, so fairly high. But at the same time, I had a borrower yesterday that told me that her rent was almost $4,000, right? So, you have less places to rent. You can buy right now and lock in your equity position versus paying somebody else's equity. You know what I mean? So we're talking about that. And as long as the payment makes sense, you're not buying the interest rate, right? You're purchasing the house and knowing that this interest rate will go down. So that's what we're having that conversation. And how is it compared to your current rent right now? How far off is it? Right?
Yeah.
Now it's a house that you can change the paint colors. You can do whatever you want to it. It's your house and you're building equity and value in it.
Right. And this is a conversation that you've got to have, and you've got to be able to do the math for people too. And I'm sure that your loan officers do this. When you got people saying, like, first of all, understand that when people buy homes, it's always been some sort of sacrifice that they have to make, right? It hasn't always been easy to where somebody just gets a loan, 100% financing. I mean, that's the market that I came from. We were doing 120% financing for crying out loud. But it wasn't always this easy, and you got to be able to have.
Rates, Chad?
What's that?
What were those rates in the good old days in 2006, 2007? What were they?
When I got into the business, if you were able to get somebody 6.99, they were flipping over their desk to refinance their property into that rate.
Yeah, my first loan in 2006 was 5.75. So I think it's important too, guys, like your memory might be short because you've only been in the business for 3 or 5 years, but these rates are actually normal. This is
Really
a return
good.
to
Yeah.
normal. If they're not crazy high, these aren't 18% 1980s interest rates.
Correct.
Right.
They're
Right.
better than car loans.
Yeah. One thing to talk about too is what I like to do is we'll do a side-by-side comparison. So we'll show them the payment today versus a refinance. Let's just even say, like, let's say you lock in a 7% today. We'll show you a refinance at 5%. You can see the payment difference. I think it's good for people to see what they can expect to refinance down to in the future and still keep their equity, right? Because they're keeping that market price.
Yeah, well, we did the math with somebody's buyer where we calculated exactly how much rent they were going to pay. The property that they wanted was like just went up, which for most people I guess doesn't matter, but they thought that they were going to be paying $50,000 more than they should, You know, we did the math and how much they're going to pay rent, what that looks like in terms of the equity that they were paying down with their mortgage. And it made absolute sense for them to buy rather than rent. They were just looking at it. They weren't looking at it with the right perspective, you know? And so again, like, you've got to ask the tough questions. Have you decided that you're definitely going to own a home, right? Are you going to be a home buyer? Have you decided this for sure? Right? Whether that be now or 5 years from now, right? Because then you can start having the conversation about timing, which is the most important thing, equity, what's been going on with property values, how much they're paying in rent versus how much they would be paying with their mortgage, how much equity they're actually paying down with that mortgage, as opposed to paying it with a renter. So we just have to have more creative conversations. We've got to care more about why people are doing the things that they're doing, and have better conversations. First and foremost, better conversations. We got to give a shit a lot more than we used to.
100%.
So
real life scenario that I have a 540 listing in Bonnie Lake, 3 weeks ago seemed very appropriate. 3 weeks later, my client is freaking out. We've had like 3, 4, or 5 showings in the 3 weeks. And so now the conversation is lower price. And I'm saying, well, maybe we offer concessions, and I was looking forward to this meeting today. So is it a combination of the two? Is it all of one or all of the other? Should you go heavy on one side or the other? What do you think there?
I think, a couple of different things, and I appreciate that question. So, we've been working a lot with, Randy brought this up too. Social media is so big right now, guys. Really making sure you're pushing that as many different avenues as possible, because all it takes for one person to see it, because you can list the house for whatever it is. For the right buyer, it's the right price, right? So always remember that too. There's not enough avenues to push that out on. Number two is advertising, whether it's a concession or a payment. Some people might not know. They're like, oh, 540. My lender said I can't buy it at 540. But do they know about a buy down program like Randy was presenting, or do they know about, hey, listen, I don't have money for closing costs? Do they know that you'll offer that closing cost? So I think it's a combination of both. You could try one and then go towards the other. But definitely put it out there with a combo.
I'm going to answer this question too. Okay. So we know that buyers search in price bands. Can you guys see this? Okay.
Yep.
So like when I'm searching, I can only look between 500 and 550. So when I'm asking a client about the price reduction, I'm telling them like, hey, the reality of it is we can reduce the price, but unless I'm getting you into a new price band, which is in front of a new audience of buyers, we're probably not going to have a lot of impact, right? So in the case of that 540 listing, I think you need to tinker with it a little bit and bring it down, but you need to tell your client, like, that's the Redfin website. The Zillow website is in $5,000 increments. I would want to bring that listing down to 525. We're reviewing the comps again. We're doing another CMA, right, to see where we think it would reasonably appraise. But I would want to bring it down to 525 to expand the eyeballs in the interest of addressing their first question, which is the amount of traffic that they're having, right? It's really hard for me to negotiate, Jason, to get you a great price if I don't have any people going through the house. So let's do the right thing, reduce the price down to 525 so that we can at least get the warm bodies through the door. If I find somebody then that needs concessions and we still feel that the comps support 540, then obviously I'm going to negotiate with that broker to lift that price, build in the concessions that are required, and give the contract to MK. Sound like a good plan?
And
Shall we reduce the price today? Can I send you the reduction? Cool.
I love that. I think one other thing to think about is like the co-founders group is different than in any real estate group that I've seen. Like, it's just different, special. You guys have this great group. I think that if you have something listed at 540, is that listing being sent to everybody in the co-founders group? Do you have a buyer right now? Because somebody might have a buyer that really all they need is 20 grand worth of seller concessions to get there, right? And I know, like, I have a client right now that I'm thinking about in my head that I might reach out to you about. I was like, they don't have additional funds to put down, but if I can buy out their mortgage insurance and I can get all their closing costs paid, will that get their payment under the DTI that I need? Absolutely. But it's like making sure you're reaching out to everybody with that.
And you guys also know that on showing time, before you do a price reduction, you can send an announcement to all the agents that have shown the listing to say, hey, we're about to do a price reduction. Before we do that, if your client's on the fence about concessions, reach out to me. So you can send an announcement out.
That's awesome.
Before you do the price reduction. That way you've protected your appraisal value as well.
So good.
This is what we call being a real estate agent, folks, right? It's different. It's different. And your willingness to do the things that most people aren't willing to do is going to be the difference maker in you doing a lot more business than you've ever done right now, especially now. So,
You guys-
go ahead.
Oh, you guys both touched on this, but like when MK says this is the time to take market share, that's exactly what he's talking about. If you're gonna just stand out there and be an order taker, guys, you're gonna get swallowed. You have to have this, you have to come on these calls, you have to get this information, you have to be the source of good news, you have to be a consultant, you have to be proactive, you have to be doing all the things. And that's how you justify those big fat commissions. If you cannot justify, if you cannot categorically and numerically demonstrate to your client why they are going to save more money by hiring you, why you are going to save them more pain than the cost that they're going to pay you, then they shouldn't hire you. And if you're not clear on that value proposition, get with Chad, get with Michelle, get with me, get with MK, get clear. Because if you are clear in this market, you will dominate.
You dominate with a capital D. It's true. Right. And so again, just like I was saying at the beginning of the call, this market shift is scary to most real estate agents, not you. Why? Because you're willing to invest the time, you're willing to invest the energy, you're willing to level up while the chips are down for everybody else. Even if it's a mental thing with everybody else, it doesn't matter. Like you've got the ability to just buy up market share right now, but you're going to buy that up with your effort. You're going to buy that up by getting back to the basics, doing the right things, getting a little bit more creative with the things that you're doing. Put deals together rather than just wait for them to put together themselves, because they won't. And your ability to solve problems will dictate the amount of money that you earn over the next couple of months. So make sure you know what you're doing, right? Make sure that you're educating yourself. Make sure that you're putting in the sweat, guys, to get the result, because I see people proving this shit to themselves every single day. Amanda, who's been in the business for a while, hasn't done a lot of business, decides to take massive action yesterday and gets the result. And that's not a magic recipe, is it? Right? It's I do the work, I get the result. I do the work, I get the result. You put enough of those days together, they become weeks, then they become months. And that's when you become a leader in your industry. But it's hard. Yep. It's difficult. Yep. But why? The process weeds out the weak. It does. Right? None of you guys are weak. All of you guys have demonstrated that you're capable. We just have to get to work. Back to the basics, everybody. You guys ready to get shit done this week or what?
Oh, yeah.
On the phone.
Hell yeah.
Well, I'm ready to put on my helmet and get in the game.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go. Let's go. All right. I want to thank all of you guys for joining us. Go buy yourself a hoodie. They're awesome. I'm going to keep pushing that. Jamal, if you show up to any one of my meetings in a hoodie that does not say Breakfast Club Co-Founders Group, you're dead to me. Okay.
Like I'm sponsored by Nike.
I got you.
Let's get out and have a great week, guys. I'm excited. Thursday builders call again, really quickly, guys. That agent attraction model is one of the reasons why all of you guys joined. And while everybody else is struggling and not getting this kind of help, right? They're starting to look at like, I can't generate business. I don't have a skill set. Like my business is taking a toll. It's you that's going to come to town with the good news, right? And that's going to take care of your retirement in the future. That's going to ensure that you've got 10,000, 5,000, 50,000 coming in every single month on top of your real estate business. That Thursday call, very important. Get plugged into everything. And we'll see most of you guys on the Breakfast Club tomorrow. But I appreciate you jumping in and I appreciate you spending the time with us today, guys. Thanks, MK.
Thanks, guys.
Later. Appreciate you.
Thanks,
Great
MK.
meeting you guys.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Chad.
Thanks, guys.